many years ago. He started as an executive trainee in LIC, held various senior positions, and he was the COO of a multinational insurance company. I think it is Star Daiichi. Later, he worked for the Reliance Group also. That's his career friend. He's a writer, and of course, all of us know that's one of the reasons he's here. He has published 4 books. One is No Closure, No Forgiveness. Interestingly, for a speaker who is going to talk about leadership today, it's a crime thriller. It's located in Boston, USA. I just asked him whether he was living in Boston. He said no. I was utterly surprised to find that he has described the whole scene, of course, the location being Boston, so well in the crime thriller. I mean, hats off to his imagination. His second book is what he's going to talk about today, Age of the Imperfect Leader. So fiction to leadership, it's like a ping pong. And then again to fiction, Unbroken, which is again set out in the context of the game which ISI and our own Indian spy agency, RAW. I could never put down the 2 crime thriller books, and of course, Age of the Imperfect Leader. So, and now he's on his 4th book, The 10X Leader. Book was published by Rupa, Age of the Imperfect Leader. These are soon. I'll grab a copy, and I'm sure it'll be it cannot be put down. That's my experience with these 3 books. I would urge everyone here to not miss on the opportunity to read his books. And he's happily married to Mrs. Neelima Verma, very well settled. And well, of course, with these few words, I believe I would have introduced Mr. Pawan Verma. It's indeed not possible to do justice in such a short time to introduce a person of his caliber and a variety of interests. Instead of coming back again to speak about his book, The Imperfect Leader, I would like to speak a few words about the book. As we all know, all of management literature and most of the literature on leadership eulogizes the leader as the perfect being. In fact, as part of management education also, is the perfection so much that most of us as managers believe in a leader. I mean, I can say this because I know many youngsters when I was a corporate executive, as well as my MBA students. I've been teaching with MBAs for 15, 16 years. Most of my students who express a lot of frustration about the boss, because the expectation is boss is a leader and he has to be perfect, which is not the truth in real life. That's what Dr. Pawan Verma brings out in his book, Age of the Imperfect Leader. He takes innumerable examples of a variety of leaders, starting with Mahatma Gandhi, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, just to give you a few examples, whose leadership style and their own personalities he dissects so well that, to me, again, these examples were very, very not just interesting, but at times, such as that of Donald Trump, entertaining also. So, and of course, we all know that, I mean, his key point, this is a VUCA world, and it's not possible for any person to be a perfect leader. And it's important to work on strengths and, of course, try to overcome weaknesses. And this is the age of collaboration. So, friends, I will not steal the show by talking too much about what I read in the book, because I'm sure Pawanji would explain it much better than me. Just a piece of advice: after his session, we will be having a question and answer session. I would request that those who are in the audience make their notes of questions. Leadership is an interesting topic. I'm sure there'll be questions galore. I'm sure Pawanji will be very happy to answer. Thank you very much. And Pawanji, the stage is yours.
Yes. Respected Dr. Kiran Yadav, President BMA, distinguished professionals who are present in the audience today, and very distinguished professionals who are attending this webinar from remote locations. A very good afternoon to all of you. I can see in the remote locations Mr. Shushoban Sarkar, the former MD of LIC of India. Welcome, Shushoban. He's a good friend of mine. So, well, and I must thank Mr. Murthy also for this generous introduction. Definitely there was a friend in him that was talking about me. I thank the BMA for giving me an opportunity to share my ideas. The session has been structured already. Share your insights about the issue with me, which will enrich my thoughts as well, you know. I promise to stick to the structure that already has been decided, particularly the time part, because I remember one incident. I was the keynote speaker at an event. Unfortunately, somehow it happened that the speakers prior to me had taken more time and eaten into my time, you know. So when it turn came, I politely asked the chairman of the chamber, who was sitting by my side, "Sir, how did you take?" He was very forthright. "Mr. Verma, you can speak as long as you want, but my memory is 5 minutes." So I will stick to the timeline given by the BMA president, and I will make sure that the members don't leave. So I have a presentation for you to share with you. Seeing the monotony of my face, you can see the slides at least moving. The topic for me today is leading with strengths, living with your weaknesses. This is the central theme of the book, Age of the Imperfect. Let me give you basic details of that. But before that, I'd like you to have a look at two pictures. The first one, I think these are familiar pictures. Anybody can decipher this. You must be aware of this story. This represents the sibling rivalry between Lord Ganesha and Lord Kartikeya. They both are quarreling about who is smarter, who is braver, who is more smart. And so Mata Parvati sets up a contest where she says that whosoever revolves around the universe 3 times and comes back to me first will be the winner. Now, this is certainly a stage against Lord Ganesha, because he's not as agile and physically as fit as Lord Kartikeya, very clearly. He rides a mouse which is very slower than the peacock of Lord Kartikeya. So no way he can win this. But then he has one strength. He is blessed with sharp intelligence, tikshna buddhi that we say. And then he changes the battlefield, with his intelligence. He says, I'm not bothered about the outer universe. I'm bothered about my inner universe. And so to me, my parents are my universe. And with this, he takes 3 rounds around his parents and he's declared the winner. So this is the distinction between outer universe, that is your physical world, and the inner universe, where which is dominated by your thoughts, your feelings, and all that. So he has changed the battlefield and become a winner. Look at the next story. This is Goliath, the brave fighter, the bravest fighter of his time. He's a Palestine. For full 49 days, he has been crossing over the mountain and coming to the border of Israel and challenging the Israelis for a one-to-one fight, with the condition that anybody, the one who is a winner, will take over the kingdom of the other side, on the other side. Now, for full 49 days, he keeps on challenging the Israelis, and nobody can dare to fight him, because he is such a brave fighter, and he's reputed as the bravest fighter. On the 50th day, this lean and lanking boy that you see here, he takes up the challenge. He is David, a shepherd boy. He's a shepherd boy. People tell him not to do that, because there's no way he can win the battle.
Just 1 minute. He will open the slide share. You have not opened the slide share in the computer.
Just let him.
The same book title is there.
I see it's coming there, no?
No,
It's not coming up this slide, and now it is. Slide.
Oh, stuck ho gaya.
Acha.
now,
Next slide.
Yeah. Sorry.
now next.
Yeah.
Now,
So he says, David says, the small boy says that I'm a shepherd. I take my sheep for grazing, and I have been saving my sheep, the herd of sheep, from lions and wolves. So now I know how to defeat this fellow. He takes a sling and 5 stones and goes there to battle him. And before Goliath reaches him, he takes a pot shot at Goliath. The stone hits Goliath right in the forehead. He collapses, and with Goliath's own sword, David kills him. Now, what is the big picture that we see here? When we have a challenge, when we want to do something, if we use our strength, then we can win. Lord Ganesha's strength is his sharp intelligence, and which helps him in changing the battlefield. David's strength is his quick thinking, and his Goliath couldn't have anticipated what this fellow will do. But there's a dichotomy between thought and action in our life. Our brains are hardwired to focus on negativity, on the negative, and fix it. We always think, whenever we always think in our life what we don't have and try to acquire it. We try to fix up the problem. Then there's a social pressure to become well-balanced individuals. The most of us would know that during our childhood, during our school days, we would have taken tuition in the subjects in which we were the weakest. But we didn't take tuition in the subject which we were stronger. I myself remember my math was very, very poor. It's a wrong statement. It's still poor. It continues to be poor. But I was scoring very high and topping the class on the basis of the marks that I obtained in English, literature, languages, etc. But I took, at the matriculation exam, before the matriculation exam, I took desperately 3 months tuition in math so that I should pass. But I did nothing about my English, languages, literature, where I was stronger. So, yeah. Then there's a misplaced emphasis on improving our weaknesses. You know, by the time we are 10-year-old, the synaptic connections in the brain, we have 10 billion, 100 billion neurons in our head. The synaptic connections between the neurons are established very well by the age we are 10 years old. So what happens, depending upon our experience, our upbringing, our environment, there are some highways in our brain of synaptic connections. And then there are some small lanes. After 10 years, howsoever you may try to broaden the small streets into highways, it will not happen. That's why you will find that there are people who are very good at maths, but poor at language and literature. There are people who are very good at philosophy, but will fail at science because of the synaptic connections. So we have to be aware of what are our strengths, what are our highways in the brain, and utilize them for success. Peter Drucker has a very good point. He says that it takes far less energy to move from first-rate performance to excellence than it does to move from incompetence to mediocrity. So if you have a weak point, you try hard, you can bring it to mediocrity level, mediocre level. But you can't take it to excellence. So it's always better to focus on your strength and drive excellence in there. When we excessively focus on weaknesses, we are basically aiming at mediocrity. Because if on a scale of 1 to 10, if your weakness is somewhere around 2, -2, and you want to take it up, maximum you can take it up to 5 level, maybe 6 level, but you will not get excellence there. So you will not be an achiever in that area. But if your strength is at, say, positive aspect is at 0.6, you can easily take it to 8, 9, 10, and become a leader based on that strength. This prevents realizing our human potential. Leadership demands excellence. Excellence in any field. If you want to lead, you need to have excellence. A singer, for example, needs excellence in the way she is singing or he is singing. He need not be good at science, maths, and all that. And finally, this has relevance to both life and leadership. Because it's not a subject for leadership alone. In our life also, when we work on our strength, we taste greater success. So Tom Rath has a good point. He says, if you spend your life trying to be good at everything, you will never be great at anything. There has been some researches and surveys also. There is a Positivity Council, Positivity Leadership Council, Corporate Leadership Council, that did a survey in 2002. And the survey, the striking point of the survey was that, look here, if you, during employee performance, the idea of this, how do you improve the performance of the employees? So during performance assessment of the employees, if you focus on their strengths, then their performance improves by 36.4%. But if you focus on their performance weaknesses, that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, the performance drops down by 26.8%. So imagine the difference between, we keep on talking these days, we keep on complaining that there's less employee engagement is going down. But what do? When during performance review, the first thing that we ask, you didn't do this thing well. You could have done it better. Instead of that, can you find out what he has done well and then emphasize on that? So this will give him positive motivation. these days a paradigm shift. So there were two surveys done, one in 2006 and the other in 2015, about the strength revolution, about the employees want to focus on your strength or on your weaknesses. So look at this graph, 2006, 63% of employees said, fix my weaknesses. When it came to, after 9 years, 2015, this number came down to 36%. I'm feeling rather cold, so can it be more? Then again, focusing on strength, in 2006, 37% people said, yes, we should focus on our strength. The number went up to 64% in 2015. So clearly the balance is shifting towards focusing on a strength rather than on your weaknesses. What do social scientists say? There have been certain researches on that. Dr. Robert K. Merton did a research in 1968 on scientists. And he found out that those scientists who started on a positive note in their career, they were rewarded much better with remuneration and promotions in later years of life than those who didn't start on a positive note. There was yet another experiment for 25-year experiment, right from 1979 to 2004. A sociological research done by Timothy A. Judge and Charles Hurst. They took 7,660 people from age 18 to 22 years and followed them up for 25 years, 1979 to 2004, and found that people who had started with positive self-confidence about their strength and the job they were doing, at the end of 25 years, they were higher placed in the hierarchy. They were getting highly remunerated, much higher remuneration. And surprisingly, they were 3 times more healthier than the other group, which had started with lesser confidence level. That's where we understand the domino effect of you start on a positive note, you get success, you are motivated, you are encouraged, and so you repeat that. So you gain experience, you gain expertise, and then when you do it again and again, so more and more success comes to you. So performing on our strength keeps us motivated, promotes greater resilience when you are working on your strength area. And if some hurdles comes, you feel more encouraged to stay on and fight it out, rather than working on your weak areas. You will give up more easily when you are working on your weak areas. It builds self-confidence and drives higher engagement levels. At the same time, it gives you a better utilization of your time and resources. When you are working on your strength, your success, you're reaching your destination is fast. You can reach it faster. It's much easier. It's like swimming with the current. You reach faster. As against you are working on your weaknesses, that is swimming against the current. You can't go much faster. It's like working on the strength is sowing in the fertile land. The crop will be better, it will be faster. And when you work on your weaknesses, this is sowing on the infertile land. So who is a leader? Now, how do we apply this strength approach to leadership? But before we come to leadership, let us understand for a moment who is a leader. And that's a very tricky question. Whenever we ask a theoretician who is a leader, he or she comes out with a host of attributes. A leader is one who has intelligence, who has vision, who has communication, who has this, about 10 to 12 attributes. that this is what a leader is. Now, the problem is that I ask a simple question, who is a leader? I need a simple answer, who is he or she? Answer comes as a normative answer, who is a good leader? I'm being told who is a good leader. I'm not asking who is a good leader. I'm asking just simply who is a leader. Right. The second problem with leadership is that when we talk about a leader, we always think about hierarchies. Some prime minister, some military general, some big guy.
Sorry, is that phone of yours on connected to this? I think that's creating an echo.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just a minute.
Because I think those who are hearing probably
Getting an echo. Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's all right.
So echo is coming.
Is it on Zoom?
No.
When
Hotspot is
Or
off.
just reduce the volume.
okay.
That's what I did on this.
Yeah. That's right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So whenever we think of a leader, we always think of a man at the top of the hierarchy. It could be a military general, it could be a prime minister, a president, a CEO of a company, kind of that. But can we think about outside their structure also that there could be a leader? Think of Goswami Tulsidas. For full 450 years, what his Ramcharitmanas has been impacting the thoughts and behavior of billions of Indians. Is he not a leader? After all, what a leader does, he influences your thinking to move in a particular direction. And that's what Tulsidas has been doing. So there was an author who wrote a book, The Anatomy of Leadership, Howard Gardner. He talked about the Churchill-Einstein continuum. While Churchill, at the head of an apex body, a government, is a leader, Einstein is also a leader. In fact, Einstein, I believe, is to be a greater leader because Churchill's influence was limited by time and geography. But Einstein's influence, even today we are feeling behind the scientific experiments, achievements that is happening. Scientists, Einstein's theories are at the base of it. The second problem about understanding leadership is the Hitler's dilemma. The question is, was Hitler a leader? So that's an issue. Whether a leader should be a good intentioned always, whether he should be a do-gooder. But if we apply that principle, then leadership will be always questioned. Churchill's leadership, Indians question. Churchill is a great leader for the UK. But it's questioned because he presided over the starvation of 3 million Indians during the 1943 famine, Bengal famine, and many other things. The Greeks call Alexander the Great, but the Persians call him Alexander the Barbarian because of their own experiences. Eisenhower, who dropped bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, can the Japanese call him a hero, leader? I doubt. So that's the issue. In deciding about leadership, who is a leader, we should not think about that leaders should be always well-intentioned, always be do-gooder. The moral and ethical trap is another thing. Does a leader have to be a moral person, an ethical person? If you look at some of the greatest leaders in the world, right? The morality has been always a question.
You should switch that up because that is one that is creating the ego. Yeah, the PPT. You opened that. Because they're too close to each other. That's the reason. Sorry.
Close your phone.
You can just switch off the phone. Doesn't matter. You've got to strike. Don't worry about the people who are watching. Somebody will send a message.
Yeah.
I thought it was search phone, but actually.
Yeah.
Initially,
So the moral and
Now that we
ethical
know.
trap, the moral and ethical trap should also be avoided in understanding leadership. Now, based on these considerations, the academic scholars on leadership scholars have come out with an idea of perfect leader, that a leader should be perfect in all respects. But I dispute this idea. I doubt this idea, and that's the basic theme of this. When you see it on the ground, the leaders are not perfect. But the picture that we understand we have been presented with, look here, Lolly Daskal is a great leadership author, and she runs a leadership institute. What she says, the 10.5 commandments of leadership. Now it says, you shall be more concerned with your character than your reputation. You shall be committed in all that you do. You shall listen more than you speak. And a lot of 10 virtues she has said. And what is 10.5? You shall make everything count. You will not miss out on anything. The problem is that I'm looking for a leader. I'm not looking for God, because if I have all these 10.5 things, then I will become God. I'm not asking for a God. I am just simply asking for a leader. There's another author. These are sample examples I'm giving you. Dr. Sanjeev Chopra and David Fisher, they wrote a book, Leadership by Example, the 10 key principles of all great leaders. So you have listening, empathy, attitude, dreaming, effective, resilient, sense of purpose, humility, integrity, packing others' parachutes. Now, all these leaders, one after another, these scholars keep on harping upon that a leader must have these things. So according to them, a perfect leader should look like that they know what is to be done, how it is to be done, how to get it done. Imagine in the current situation where the world is so complex, jobs and services are created by a panel of experts. Think of the COVID medicine, for example. Could one person have the imagination and vision and technical skill to do it himself? No, it's always a teamwork. So leaders are just the do-it people, are decisive and authoritative. They command performance. They control the direction of performance. They bestow reward and punishment. And to be a leader, you must have superlative IQ and EQ, unbounded imagination, understanding of the complexities of the business, operational excellence to translate vision into reality, and charisma to inspire the entire team. You have the author, Dr. John Maxwell. He's a great author on leadership. He has written many books. He says the leader knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. Now, that's the picture of a leader that has been presented to us. And it's very frustrating to young budding leaders when they found that I don't have those qualities. So they start doubting their own leadership qualities. So promoting the idea of a perfect and infallible leader, you must have come across on the airports this advertisement by IWC. It's a watch, advertisement for a watch, engineered for men who don't need a co-pilot. This is alpha male speaking. He knows what is to be done, how to fly the plane. He will give directions. He will give instructions. Everybody has to obey. And then he will reward and punish people accordingly. So that's the idea of a leadership that is being promoted by the existing literature. What happens if I am a leader? I try to project an image of what I am not. I'm a cat, but I want to project an image of a lion to others. In real life, how it translates. If I'm a CEO, I don't know IT, but I'll project and direct the IT guy to do it like this. I don't know finance, but I might direct the finance guy to do it like that. I don't understand much of investment in depth, but I will not do that. I will pose as if I know all these things and start issuing directions, which is harmful to the company. such. Leadership, let's understand, is a different skill altogether than finance, accounts, and investment and all those kind of things. Leadership means the capability to analyze things, to synthesize things, to ask relevant questions and pick up the right answers out of that. So it's a different skill. But we are under the impression that leadership means everything. You should be on top of everything, accounts, investment, financing, and all that, which is a flawed perspective. So as a result of this, leaders are losing authenticity. They don't look authentic. They harm the institutions in the process, inadequate commitment to the team, and leadership institutes are promoting wrong models of leadership development because they say that you have this and you become a leader in it. You will remember that all the HR institutes also, I mean, the corporate, once you join a corporate, what happens? The HR always sends you periodically a list of traits and asks you to identify which is your weak areas. And they send you to training in those weak areas. So I have been sent umpteen number of times into training for finance for non-finance managers. And still I have not improved. I can't still know about debit and credit. The other day I was telling my friend, Mr. Murthy, and Mr. Shah is also CE, I suppose. Yeah, so you might be laughing at my level. So in spite of all the training, I couldn't do it. But HR keeps on finding your weakness and then doing it. It doesn't help. Find out my strong point and send me on training in that area for improvement, for excellence. So my submission is that if you continue leading today with the methods of yesterday, you are bound to go out of leadership tomorrow because the playing field is changing. The landscape, your operating landscape is changing, and you cannot keep on operating the same way as you have been doing in the past. What is the true face of leadership? The human beings are essentially imperfect creations. Even Bhagavan Vishnu, when he takes avatar in the human form as Ram and Krishna or Parsuram, he comes with all his failings as human beings. None of our avatars are perfect people, right? So how do we expect our leaders to be perfect people? So I'm giving you a glimpse of some of the imperfect leaders and their strength and how did they build their leadership in spite of their strengths. So the first on my list is Mahatma Gandhi, a very transformational leader. I believe and world over, he is being discussed as a transformational leader unanimously. But was he free from any weaknesses? At the personal level, he has himself admitted in his my experiments with truth. He demanded loyalty and faithfulness from his wife. He says, I know that she is faithful to me, but as a husband, it was my duty to command and demand her faithfulness, and I needed to know where she is going, where she is not going. At the age of 38, when both of them, Kasturba and Mahatma Gandhi, were 38, he enforced celibacy upon her, and without consulting her, without consulting his wife, he made it public as well. When he was living in the ashram, he used to advise young married couples to observe celibacy for the upliftment of their soul. But you know very well that he was himself sleeping naked with girls, half her age or much lower than his age. And when Dr. Sushila Nair, she says that when she became old, she became 33 years old, she was replaced by Abha and Manu, who were 18 years old. So those were the moral failings. And imagine this were happening in the India of 1915 to 1947 or 48. That was the conservative India. At the public life, again, there was a big failure. Remember the 1939 Tripuri session of the Congress, where Mahatma Gandhi's candidate Pattabhi Sitaramaiah was defeated in an election by Subhash Chandra Bose. And he made it so difficult, Mahatma Gandhi made it so difficult for Subhash Bose that Subhash Bose had to resign from presidency. And he started taking another way for fighting for the independence. He went to Germany and all that we know. So, coming right on my head. Yeah. Again, you know the
change seats with Murthy, sir. You can just increase the competition.
Yeah, we will reduce it. I think he's shaking all the air. It little left to me. I'm feeling warm. Same here.
So, then again, you know, for electing the Prime Minister of India, you know, these are very well-known stories, so I'm not going to repeat it.
India-Pakistan partition.
India-Pakistan partition, his role in
Something.
Also umpteen number of personal failures, public failures. And he is still
Family and children.
Family and children. He ignored them. And so his children became what you know, what they became. Now, still in spite of that, how come it was that he became the transformational leader? All said and done, he was the one person who transformed the Indian struggle from an elite force or a sporadic force to a mass movement. And how did he do it? Look at his dressing. He dressed with a simple dhoti. And that dress could be identified with any part of India. Otherwise, anybody today, his dressing, you can decipher. He is a Gujarati, he is a Tamilian, he is a Maratha, or what? But he dressed up in a way that was unique to all over India. So every Indian could identify with him. In 1931, that roundtable conference, when he stood aside the King George V in a simple dhoti, half-clad, while King George V was fully clad in three-piece suit, the world saw the difference, who was the exploiter and who was the exploited. It was a deliberate attempt to appeal to the people. And without saying any word about India's poverty or anything, he expressed to the world at large what was happening in India. But his basic strengths, Gandhi's basic strengths, were his commitment to truth and nonviolence. So he said that at whatever be the circumstances, truth must be told. And so he himself, between 1927 to 1931, published his My Experiments with Truth and admitted all his failures. That is one strength that he had. And you know the famous Chauri Chaura incident, where a mob was fired at by the police, and the mob set fire to the police station, and 4 policemen were killed. The non-cooperation movement, which was at the peak, Gandhi withdrew it. He said, no violence. So here was a leader people saw who meant what he said, right? So that was the strength of his character. And that's how he made it a mass movement, freedom struggle, a mass movement. Now from Gandhi's age, come to the current age. You have Donald Trump, another example. Trump's failings need not be told. It's on everybody's fingertips. He can be. When he filed for presidency, not less than 24 women came forward accusing him of molesting him, and all that. He, in fact, ill-talked about his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and dismissed it as admitted it, but dismissed it as a locker talk. He himself admitted that he used to go to the green room of beauty pageants and mishandle the artists there. Now, all those, imagine after Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, the ideal couple, civilized couple to the world, that the picture they presented. Imagine Melania Trump and Donald Trump coming to the White House. It was a complete 180-degree change in character, in personality, and all that. But why is it that the American people accepted Donald Trump as their leader? Even today, if you look at the Weinstein story, Weinstein was a vice president of one of the movie theaters, picture houses, movie production house. Weinstein has to resign during the Me Too movement. But Trump didn't have to abandon his candidacy because Trump had the strength. He gave a dream to the people of America, the American dream. America was going down in, America's influence was going down in the world matters, nations were fleeing on America. So he gave a dream that make America great again. And people realized that, yes, here was a chance to regain the old glory of America, US. So how the people were fleeing, the nations were fleeing him. America was guaranteeing the security of the Gulf area. That was a policy of the times when America had to depend for crude oil on the Gulf. But now that America had become self-sufficient in oil, they did not. So Trump wanted Saudi Arabia to pay for their security. Likewise, Germany, as Trump used to say very often publicly, Germany used to spend $2 billion, 2 billion euros on buying Russian crude. But not 1% of GDP they were spending on the defense of the country. This was all outsourced to US to defend Europe. So people were exploiting US. Look at the China policy. It started with Nixon and Kissinger as a counterbalance to Soviet Union during the Cold War. But it had continued till Obama. It was Trump who changed that policy of de-alienation from China. And because China was becoming into a rival, using American money, using American technology, they have become a rival, right? So that's the leadership strength that Trump had, and that's how he became a leader. Even today, even in the last election when he lost, he commanded the leadership of 48% American electorate. It's not a joke. So he is a leader by his own strength, in spite of his weaknesses. My third example is MS Dhoni from cricket. I did not tell you about his strengths.
Captain Cool.
Captain Cool, that the cool element that he has brought to cricket, right? Whenever the leading from the front. You remember the 2011 World Cup. He was not in form. But instead of sending Yuvraj Singh, he came himself, promoted himself and came here. He came to the final match and won us the match. Whenever he gets a trophy, you will see him receiving it and passing on to his followers, teammates, and goes back to the back. Stands at the back of the team. So those are some of the leadership qualities, but his failings are also there. He's not a good communicator. Now you will say leadership needs communication. Leader has to be a good communicator. He has to be a good influencer. But no, he's not a good communicator. And when it came to, there are some other failures also, like resigning from the test captaincy while the series is going on, those kind of things, one-day captaincy. So that makes him slightly unpredictable. When the national awards were being given to him, where function was going on. He was shooting for an ad agency. So again, those are some of the failings, But in spite of that, those failings, he is a legend in the cricketing field. There have been good cricketers, but there are very few legends, and Dhoni is one of them. Leadership of the genius, Albert Einstein. How far we are? I'll go faster on this. Albert Einstein, again, I need not tell you about his leadership. All of us are familiar with it, but he had many failings, particularly with his relationship with his wife. He is accused of stealing his wife's work on mathematics. She was also a scientist, Meliva. And Einstein was not very bright in mathematics. He based his theories on the research studies of his wife, but didn't give her any credit. And there came a point of separation when he agreed, he wrote to his children that he can think of continuing his marriage on these conditions, that his wife can stay in the room or in his study till he asks her to go away. She will cook for him. She will do all the ironing and laundry press for him. Those kind of conditions, very.
Alpha male.
Yeah. So alpha male conditions. So here is the towering heights of a scientist, and here are the failings. Then he had an affair with his wife's cousin, and then betrayed her also again. So all those failings are there. The maverick who changed the world, Steve Jobs. Again, I need not tell you about his achievements and accomplishments. But then he's also accused of such moral failures, like backdating of ESOPs, the labor conditions that he ensured in China, and many things, are there. There are documentaries there, and I've said it
before.
Yeah. I've discussed in detail in my book. So the point I'm saying that leaders need not be without weaknesses. Rather, great leaders are not defined by the absence of weakness, but rather by the presence of clear strengths. So all these examples that I have shown you, people have weaknesses, but they have clear strengths. Now, what is my idea of an imperfect leader? What do imperfect leaders have in common? Their awareness, they are aware of their failings, weaknesses, and they acknowledge them. They are imperfect, but not incompetent. And they have visible and demonstrated strengths. How does it benefit them? There's no burden of looking perfect. Once you acknowledge your weakness, then people can't criticize you. You are not expected to do something on the count, Setting right the expectations from them helps the leader look around for their missing expertise. If I know that I don't know finance, and I acknowledge that I don't know finance in depth, I will ask Mr. Murthy to help me, right? If I know that if I'm a leader with a vision, I have a very good vision, but I don't know I'm not a good communicator, right? So I will ask Dr. Yadav to help me and be in the team, That's how it helps you look around for missing expertise. Reliance on group activity rather than individual heroism. Leadership is not individual heroism, it's a group activity. And so once you acknowledge your failures, then you are easily amenable to group activity. Promotes distributed leadership and helps collaborate and co-create. Relevance of imperfect leaders today. Why I'm talking about imperfect leaders today, and they are a must today. See, in the past, the economy was stable. In 10 years' time, we had one innovation or kind of that, things were going slow. Economy was not transparent. It was slow. You wrote a postcard and expected that the reply will come only after 15 days. Today, you write on Twitter about a business complaint to a company, and you want immediate response, right? it has become very transparent. The economy has become very transparent, which was earlier not there. Today, you can't build your image as a CEO. You are under 24-hour scanner as to what you are doing, what you are not doing. People are asking when this accident happened, what Mr. Modi was doing, where he was he shooting in the jungle when Pulwama happened, or what happened? People are asking these questions now. So you have to be transparent. Earlier, there was no transparency. The economy was opaque. So you could always hide behind these opaqueness and create a aura of perfection and leadership. Because you got time at your disposal, you got opaqueness there, Today, the leaders are not completely equipped to manage the change by themselves. The situations have become so complex in the VUCA world that no single person can handle everything. Imagine the COVID, for example. Leaders had to decide between keeping alive the economy or keeping alive the human beings. Whether to do a lockdown or whether to allow the businesses to continue. That was the choice. And what were the circumstances? We didn't have the data. We didn't have the experiences. Doctors had to decide whether to give a particular medicine to a patient or not, depending upon the situations. So no one person can decide. And even if you decide, you are not sure about the consequences because you have incomplete data. You don't have experience on that. So need to draw on the skills and expertise and experience of team members. Attempts to look perfect could be counterproductive. So Robert Tew, the British sports person, says there is no need to be perfect to inspire others. Let people get inspired by how you deal with your imperfections. There's no need to become perfect. How you deal with your imperfections, that makes more important than how you handle your perfection. Now, having come to this and scored the point that a strength is a must for leadership, how do we build our strength-based leadership? So the first step is discover your talent. Now, what is your talent? Talent is recruiting. Talent is a recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. Now, two words are very critical. It's a recurring pattern. It's not a fluke that you did once. You are able to do it again and again, again and again. And second thing is that this could be productively employed. If I'm very good at throwing stones at the waves and hitting the apex of the wave, it's an expertise, no doubt about it, but it cannot be productively employed. So it's not a talent. So both the conditions must be fulfilled. Now, the basic nature of talents, everybody is bestowed with certain degree of talents in three areas, basically. We can classify them in three areas: the play skills, competitiveness, gamesmanship, imagination, creativity, teamwork, communication; personal character, honesty, integrity, curiosity, perspective, judgment, bravery, perseverance; professional competence, leadership, management, conceptualization, strategizing, etc. Now, these are sample explanations, Basically, our strengths, talents come in these three areas. Identify your dominant talents. How do you do it? So the way to do is, what do you do well and how well do you execute it? You are prone to doing a job well in a particular manner. So what is that you do well? You sing very well. You do your maths problems very well. You are good at science. You are good at poetry. So identify that. Whether it generates a sense of energy within you. When you do that, you feel more energetic, positive about it. In how many diverse situations you can use it. Then be mindful of your chronotype. Chronotype is, everybody has a biological rhythm. The circadian rhythm that we say, the biological clock that we have Some people are morning larks. They get up in the morning fully charged, and they are best in the morning, at their best in the morning. Some people are night owls. They work in the night. They get their best productivity in the night owls. And some people are balanced. उनका जो talent है वो दोपहर को निकलता है. So know your chronotype, what kind of a person you are. Then there are people who are feel good about working in a particular environment. They will have sandal sticks burning. They will have the company of somebody in which they work better, you know. So know your chronotype, know your the environment, and then do your jobs accordingly in that environment, you know, for better productivity. Having observed yourself, seek opinions of others, whether others also feel accordingly. And if others confirm, that means that could be your talent. Go a step further, validate it through psychometric and psychological tests. There are various psychometric and psychological tests available, and some of them are free also. But you pay a small amount, 2,000 to 4,000 rupees, and then you get a very detailed analysis of your personality type. Gallup is one institution which is doing extremely well. And they will not only tell you what you feel about yourself, they will also give you insight about some of the hidden strength, latent potential that you have, which you can develop in. So how do you build your strength, talent? How do you convert your strength into talents? Sorry, talents into your strength. The one ways, and the only way is the rigorous practice. There have been studies made, and let me name one author. He's the author of the book, Malcolm Gladwell. He's the author of the book Outliers, The Story of Success. He has come out with a 10,000 hour formula. He says that if you practice a skill for 10,000 hours, which means 3 hours per day over 9 years, you will become an expert. So if somebody is a singer, a stage singer, public performers, if he practices for 10,000 hours, he becomes a stage singer. If you are performing for 5,000 hours, practicing for 5,000 hours, you can become a player in the orchestra, kind of that. And if you do 2,000 hours, you can become a singer in the club. Kind of that broader classifications he has given, you know. But at the heart of it is the practice. Practicing a particular skill. Then through coaching and mentorship. You know, even the best of people, best of professionals, they receive coaching. Federer, Roger Federer, or the other tennis player, all of them, the high Djokovic and others, they have personal coaches, you know. Some of these company CEOs, Ramcharan, for example, has been coaching the best of the CEOs in the world, you know. Right? So you should receive coaching, and at the same time, the third thing is self-coaching. That you observe your experts in your field as to how they do a job and implement those things in your own life. And when you do the similar job, implement that. Build your leadership around your strength. Now, having discovered your strength, build your leadership around that. Identify your strength. For example, forget your weaknesses. Madonna, the singer, the great singer, the stage performer, for example, she didn't have the best voice in the world, but she had a very strong stage presence. So she worked on not her singing with a mic and guitar, with a stage performance, where she started, appeared like sometimes like a virgin, sometimes like a vamp, and all that. And she was a phenomenon. She became a phenomenon. Coming to companies, for example, let's say iPhone. When it came in the market, I think in 2007, iPhone was not the best telephone in terms of connectivity or battery life. But they didn't bother about these weak areas. They focused on the unique they had placed a computer in your hand, in your palm, literally a computer. They created a human connection, with emotional connection, so that even today people wait for 12 hours in the night for the new version of the iPad or iPhone coming up. Look at, so all these companies, successful companies, have been maintaining their leadership based on their strengths. Apple, for example, on innovation. Walmart on large scale distribution. Amazon, we are all familiar with, on customer centricity, right? So to be a leader, make your strength so formidable that your weaknesses become irrelevant. All these companies, it's not that Apple doesn't have weaknesses. It's not that Amazon doesn't have weaknesses, but they're focusing on their strength to build their leadership and retain their leadership in the market. Manage your weaknesses. How do you manage your weaknesses? Don't ignore them, but if they're fatal, then do work on them, right? But at the same time, when you work on a fatal weakness, don't try to improve it to excellence level. You will never be able to do it. If you get angry very often, you burst into anger, don't try to become a Zen-like stoic, right? Bring it to the hygiene level where it does not threaten your career. So even if you have fatal flaws like Shakespearean heroes, all of the Shakespearean heroes have fatal flaws. You must have seen their Hindi version of it. Hamlet has indecisiveness. Othello was credulous. That Omkara movie in Hindi that we saw, he killed his wife because somebody told him something, So if they're fatal, do work on them. But if they're not fatal, then work around them based on your strength. Using your other strength, you can work around your weaknesses, Address them through teamwork. Supposing you are asked to make a presentation, but you are not very good at it. But you are good at analyzing the situation. Do your analysis, prepare the presentation, send it to your boss, this analysis, and then ask somebody in your team to make the presentation, right? So that is working on your strength. I'm very fond of hearing the hare and the tortoise story. The old version says that they had a competition, they had a race, and the tortoise, because of its perseverance, beat the hare, which was fatigued and then slowed down. What is the lesson there we get? Hard work scores over talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? Here again, the story, the new version that comes up, must have heard it, read it. The hare is not satisfied. He wants another race. But the tortoise puts a condition that the destination will be decided by the tortoise. So the hare agrees, proud of himself. Any destination, I will be faster. I will not stop this time and win this race. So in the second race, the hare starts fast again. But as he goes, he comes across a river and he can't cross it. After some time, slowly and steadily, the tortoise swims through the river and reaches the destination. What's the lesson of the story? Change the playing field to suit your core competency, like Lord Ganesh did in the first slide that I showed you. Change the playing field to suit your core competency. Now, this time the hare thought that, okay, let's have a teamwork. Together. Can we switch off from your end, my dear friends? We are getting some echoes here. Yeah. So next time, what go on a destination. before the river comes, the hare carries the tortoise on its back. And when the river comes, the tortoise carries the hare on its back. So both reach faster. So teamwork always excels, gets you better result. Once there's 1 plus 1 makes 11. It doesn't make 2. It makes 11. We have some of the finest examples of teamwork.
No, I'm on mute.
In our
We try to mute all.
mute all. You remember in Mahabharata,
Sir, please unmute. You are muted.
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption, friends. I had muted myself, thinking that I had spoken too much, but others said that no, you must continue. So I was talking about the story from Mahabharata about teamwork, where Lord Krishna was not able to defeat Jarasandha on his own. And in fact, fearing Jarasandha, he had to take refuge in Dwarika and was named as Ranchor. So he teamed up with Bhim. The physical strength of Bhim and the strategic skills, strategic thinking of Krishna. When they teamed up together, then they conquered Jarasandha very easily. So that's the impact of teamwork. How do we translate it into today's life? In today, we have a lot of challenges, the health issues, the poverty alleviation, the mass communication. There are a lot of challenges in today's society. Can we team up with the man? Can the man team up with the machine today to solve these challenges? And when I say machine, I'm in particular talking about AI, artificial intelligence. That way, you can fasten your work, you can fasten your solutions, where the man is the tortoise and the artificial intelligence, the hare, both riding at each other's back, as in the hare and tortoise story I told you, can achieve mountains. So that's the story behind the teamwork. Imperfect leaders build a perfect team. Now, even though as a person you could be imperfect and you recognize this and you become an imperfect leader, but you need to build a team of a perfect team. What do we mean by perfect team? Those who are on the same mission as you. Surround yourself with people who are on the same mission with you. What makes a great leadership team? There are basically four domains of leadership strength. These are broader domains where, these are strategic thinking, visioning, and all that. Then executing, that is the operational excellence. Then influencing and relationship building. You can classify the leadership skills into these four categories, basically. And you must make sure that your leadership team is full of these people. Let me give you an example of this. If you're recruiting in your team, let's see the company, example of a company XYZ planning to hire 2 professionals for a creative job. The marks obtained by top 3 candidates is candidate 1 is 70%, candidate 2 is 60%, and candidate 3 is 50%. Whom will you select? Obviously, by traditional method, you will select number 1 and number 2 because they are the higher scorers. But look at this. Now look at the pattern of answers the all 3 candidates have given. Number 1 and 2 think identical. Wherever number 1 is right, 2 is also right. Wherever number 1 is wrong, 2 is also wrong. But contrast this with number 3, which is a contrarian thinker. Wherever these 2 guys are right, he or she is wrong. Wherever they are wrong, she is right. Contrary thinking. So in leadership team today, you need people with contrary thinking, not your own clones. You don't need the clones of yourself, stereotypes. So you will, once you are analyzing a situation, you will get different scenarios by different people, and different kind of solutions. And as a leader, you will select out of those solutions. So the next step after becoming an imperfect leader is to developing a strength-based organizational strategy. The first thing is don't recruit your clones in your leadership team. What happens then? We like ourselves very much. So if during an interview, when we find somebody like me, I immediately select him. He's a good guy, because I am good. So he must be good. That's a fatal flaw. I'm only creating a repetitive expertise in my team, which is already available. Align job definitions with their strength. This is for HR. When you are recruiting somebody and in the JD, you always look for experience, age, experience, qualifications. Whether that person has the unique strength that you need it or not, whether that strength is compatible with your organization or not. If you are looking for a consensus builder for a profile, and you get an alpha male with experience and age and expertise, you will be creating a disaster for your organization. So focus on the required strength in recruitment and promotions. We typically promote the best salesman as sales manager. But the role of a salesman is different from the role of a sales manager. Sales manager has to strategize, he has to incentivize, he has to punish people, reward and punishment he has to establish. So the role is different. So whether the person you are promoting as sales manager has the capabilities or the strength of that role or not, you have to think. Create a shared language of strengths. Everybody in the organization should talk on the basis of a strength. When your performance review is there, people should be talking in terms of your strength, reviewing you on the basis of your strength. Distribute leadership within the team. Create more leaders in your team than followers. The concept has drastically changed now. Earlier concept was that if you are a leader, create more and more followers so that your team becomes stronger and wider and stronger. No, today the philosophy is different. You need to create more leaders because in a horizontal structure, you need more leaders at different nodes in the organization so that decision-making goes to the point where the customer is there. So decision-making will be quicker, will be more appropriate and more relevant to the customer. Encourage leadership voices from within. Don't solve problems. Now, this is one of the biggest problems of leaders. They love their juniors bringing the problems to them and they solve and they become heroes. Juniors also keep on delegating upwards, feeding into the ego of the person.
Yeah.
As a leader, don't solve the problem. Enable others to solve the problem. That way you will be building up the leadership skill in your team. Develop collective confidence. When you do that, you develop a collective confidence and collective self-esteem for the team, and that helps your corporation. Let's learn a few things from the avians. Now, these are flamingos. They come from Siberia to Navi Mumbai. Our own city, Navi Mumbai, is the flamingo city, declared as a flamingo city. Yes. They are beautiful birds. So when they fly from one destination to the other, they fly in flock. In this kind of a arrangement, they fly. Now, all of them has a shared vision and a clear destination where they are going. The beauty is that while flying, all of them keep on honking to encourage the birds in front of them. And their, flow of wind through their wings helps the other birds in their flight. But the most beautiful part of this journey is that, the lead bird, which is in the front, it has to carry the most load of flying, right? Because there's no bird in front of it with which flutter of the wing it can get support. So it gets tired very easily. So what happens that each bird by rotation comes to the leadership role. The lead bird goes behind, and the bird from behind comes forward and leads till it gets exhausted. So it's collaboration and co-creation. So this is leadership in action, where every leader is a follower, becomes a follower, and every follower becomes a leader, depending upon the situation. So if you are creating an iPhone, if you are designing an iPhone, you have, as a CEO, given the vision that I want this. But your design maker will become the hero, the leader in designing it. Your technology man, your connectivity man will become the leader in deciding about technology and connectivity. So leadership by rotation, it has to be. Now, I've come to the final slide. What are the key takeaways from this? There is a leader in you and in everyone. Let it shine and glow. So 4 aspects, 4 key takeaways I'm mentioning here. The first is our individual responsibility to realize our human potential. We have to realize our strength. Where lies our strength? And realize our human potential based upon their strength. Nobody will do it, but we have to ourselves do it. The second is role of parents, teachers, and schools. This exercise starts well in our childhood. So whatever it's the role of our parents, our teachers, and our schools to tell us about the importance of our strengths and how to focus on our strengths. Need for change in educational system in developing personalized talents. What is our educational system doing today? They are like enormous big factories where everybody is taught the same skill, examined on the same skill. It's like, you are picking up an elephant, a fish, and a monkey and asking them to compete. Maybe in swimming across the river, obviously the monkey and the elephant will not be able to do it as the fish. Change the terms of the engagement. Climbing a tree, obviously the monkey will be faster than the other two. Change again the climate, the conditions of the play. Uprooting a tree, again the monkey and the fish will be helpless. So in whatever way you frame the competition, if you are doing a factory production kind of that, you will be unfair to somebody. Fair to someone, unfair to somebody. So you have to have personalized talent development program. The education system has to focus on that.
New education policy is going to do that.
Yes, yes. And then finally, the role of leadership institutes and HR professionals in developing a strength-based leadership. Because as I told you, HR professionals will keep on looking after your weaknesses and then asking you to take training into that. The leadership institutes will keep on focusing on the strength of a leader and say, you must have these strengths to become a leader. So these are the 4 areas of change and focus that we need to have to realize these. And that's the sum and substance of my work, of the book. I hope you will enjoy reading it. I've given you a glimpse of this. So this is my friend. Thank you very much. I come to the end of this. I'm sure tomorrow you are going to enjoy the cricket. And yes, bat for India.
Monday, please start reading the book. Thank you very much, Pawanji, for a wonderful session. As you were speaking, I was trying to do some self-appraisal. How much have I as a manager? Or how much have I in the last 4 or 5 years consulted? Looked at the strengths of people. While I might have done it, to some extent,
I think all mics are mute. I do not know who is speaking.
Sir, if I can,
sorry.
Murthy sir, if I can request Verma sir to actually switch off the presentation, then he can see everyone on the screen.
Yeah, please
Whoever is signed in.
stop. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So now,
I don't know on which portion have I talked with my mute on. So I'll very quickly repeat. I was just giving my own example of when Dr. Pawan Verma was speaking of how much do I look at the strengths in the staff of my clients? How much did I, as a manager, look at the strengths of my staff rather than at the weaknesses? The fact remains that while I might have looked at some strengths, by and large, the orientation has been to look at the weaknesses. आप इसमें improve करना है, you must know better accounting or whatever else. Now, having said that, I would throw open the session for question answers. I have a few questions of my own, but I would take the last chance. I request the participants to come out with questions that they may have for Dr. Pawan Verma.
Yeah.
You can unmute yourself.
It's Farooq over here. Am I audible?
Mr. Farooq, just a second. We are trying to close these. Yeah, screen share. Yes, sir. If you could ask what your question is.
Much of this presentation talks about strength, and there's very little which is talked about weakness. In fact, the title says living with your weaknesses. It almost suggests that there's nothing you can do with weaknesses. Whereas in reality, you can improve your weakness. The only fact is you cannot convert weakness to strength.
Pawanji, could you follow the question?
So, first of all, you just switch off your presentation mode because we cannot see you. And your mic is also mute. Dr. Pawan Verma. Verma, sir.
yeah, I think Dr. Verma, now you are, the presentation has got switched off. So for you to be able to answer, you'll have to unmute yourself first.
Yeah.
You are muted, Pawan sir.
Yeah.
Unmute now.
Yes,
I'm on
yes.
mute now. Yes, Dr. Farooq, you are very correct. The weaknesses can be improved. Yes, as I said it earlier, and particularly if your weaknesses are fatal, like the Shakespearean fatal flaws, you must improve them. If I have a tendency to lose my temper at anybody and everybody, including my boss, this will be killing my career. This has the potential of killing my career. Likewise, so if that is so, I must bring it to a hygiene level. Why I say to a hygiene level? Because even if you try hard, you won't be able to bring it to a stoic level, Zen-like stoicism. No problem in doing that, So it's better that you bring it to a hygiene level where it does not threaten your life or your career. And then there are different ways of managing this. Supposing in spite of that, I have lost my temper at somebody, can I go over to him and apologize to him and confess my weakness, that I have a weakness, that I lose my temper? And more preferably, can I confess it publicly so that the person gets elevated, he understands me. So even if unintentionally next time I lose my cool on him, he will not be feeling so bad about it. But certainly we need to improve it. But my advice is never ever try to bring it to a beyond the hygiene level, because you will be wasting your time and effort in the process, which otherwise can be employed at developing your strengths. Yeah.
The one thing
Yeah. Any more questions?
Sir, I don't have any question. I am Indranil Ghosh. I don't have any question, but I would like to I will share one statement, and I request Dr. Parma to give his opinion on that. See, one is we know SWOT analysis or stock analysis. Then after that we have tools. That means clubbing strength and opportunity and strength and weaknesses. Right now, third level I would like to talk about is even these strengths. If you have a sufficient strength, sometimes you can shadow the weakness. Weakness will not come into place, or even you can overcome the weaknesses by concentrating on the strength. So, Dr. Verma, I will request you to throw some light on that if you are.
See, the examples of the imperfect leaders that I gave are testimony to that fact, that leaders, the transformation leaders, all those transformation leaders whose profile I shared, they have some very dominant strengths, formidable strengths, so that once you are all focused on their strength, and even a person like Trump could become a leader because he's full of weaknesses. Right? You need not count. Your counting will go to, you will be left counting, because, but still he became a leader and he continues to be a leader even today, even though he is old. He is sort of racist, looks to be, but still the American people, the liberated people from America, the educated people from America, those who are leading the world today in ideas and power and all that, they follow him. Even today, for the Republicans, he happens to be the most likely to be winning the candidacy. So that's how it is. If your weaknesses are not fatal, don't worry about it. Focus on your strength. Your strength will become so dominant, then nobody will talk about your weaknesses. Human beings have weaknesses. Everybody has a weakness, right? So we need not be bothered about weaknesses. And then if there are weaknesses which come in your way, but they are not fatal, then you have to work around them. You can use an alternative strength in your personality to overcome those weaknesses.
So, Mr. Suresh Kapiti, what's your question? You raised your hand.
Yeah, first of all, I echo with the author and the presenter today. And I would like to extend further this intellectual conversation. Actually, who exactly define the weaknesses of a leader? Who are they actually? That is my question related to this.
Now, if you are a public person, certainly you are accountable to the people whom you are representing. So Trump today cannot say that to the American people that who are you to tell me about your weaknesses, about my weaknesses, right? He is a public person, he is accountable, and so to his followers. Likewise, a CEO of a corporation, he is accountable to the people whom he is supervising, or accountable to the employees in the company. He is accountable to the customers. He is accountable to all the stakeholders. So, but when it's a personal life, you are accountable to yourself. That you have to ask yourself, what are my weaknesses? How can I convert them into my strength? How can I develop my strength? So this is a difference between personal and public life.
Yeah, but in some areas like conservative, both are dragged into the publicly.
Can you elaborate on that idea? Conservative means what? American conservative, you are saying?
Yeah, of course. It is every conservative is having their own definitions of weaknesses.
Yes.
Okay, we cannot say this is right or wrong, but the thing is, as you explained the leadership today, we have to go with the strengths and with respect to the whatever the imperfections we have. So society has to mature to that level of civilization. That is expecting the hope. So definitely our insights will reach to the utmost people of the society. Thank you.
Sureshji, I will have a point on this. See, if I am in a conservative society, and there could be two kinds of people in a society: those who consider my imperfections as weaknesses, and those who do not consider it. Right? So what I'm saying is slightly different. Even those people who consider my imperfections as weaknesses, they can accept me as their leader because of the vision that I will give it to them, because of the dream that I will sell to them, because the way I can perform a task and bring some good things to him, I can become a leader. Yesterday, I was listening to a video on YouTube of a very prominent critic of the Prime Minister of India and the government of India. She's a young girl. Let me name her Shehla Rashid. She was dubbed as the member of the Tukre Tukre gang. And I was surprised that she was in an interview praising the government. She has a 180-degree turnaround. Even though she was the harshest critic of the government of India and Prime Minister Modi, she is a Kashmiri, so she was critical of the abrogation of Article 370 also. And she is so vocal, not only in India, she represented this her group abroad also. She was quoted by New York Times and many other Western publications. What she considered the government of India's weaknesses, now she says that I have seen the results of this coming up. So there's peace in Jammu and Kashmir, there's development in Jammu and Kashmir. And when she herself appeared for certain exams, she has been selected as an assistant professor in Kashmir. So there was no favoritism there. There was nothing against her or her community. So she says that I have a 180-degree turnaround. So what I'm saying is that even those people who consider your weaknesses as really weakness, they can accept you as a leader if they see the vision, if they see your dream, if you are able to sell your dream to them. And that can happen only when you use your strength, you apply your strength in action.
Thank you.
I would also love to share your insights on the topic, apart from the questions, if you have any. That will enrich my thoughts as well.
Yeah, my insights particularly, whatever the trying to be perfect, it's a myth, but the dealing with the imperfections are the main thing. And also in the opposite person also, we haven't mostly check the weaknesses instead of appreciate his leadership, particularly when we are working in the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so that as you explained the bird picture, so whenever our energies are depleted, we would like to give the chance to others to lead, and in such a way we can create the more leaders, and that will brings the harmony for the
Sure.
organization or society. Yeah,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
sure. Beautifully explained, Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Ms. Murthy, you'll have-
Dr. Kiran Yadav.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Murthy. Thank you, Verma sir, for giving us an actual masterclass or an MBA in leadership in a short 90 minutes presentation. You've actually covered the entire gamut of, how to become, the imperfect leader in spite, because there's no perfect one. I think you, in your last answer, you so elucidly explained that, अंधों में काना राजा होता है और जो उसकी प्रजा हो उसका आप लीडर हो. I think that's fantastic. You shared a very impressive study by Timothy Judge, which is 25 years, which is, I mean, it is so intensive that I think all of us need to actually imbibe and learn from it long time ago. I just have one question, sir.
Yeah.
You have said this, and this has been said umpteen number of times by experts, that the first 10 years of anyone's life are the most formative years in which one can imbibe or internalize one's strength building exercise.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, sir, what my personal experience, or even now when I look around and see, okay, in the first 10 years of education, either at home or in school or otherwise, the natural tendency of all of us is to tell the child what to do and what is wrong, rather than encouraging what is right.
Right.
And you see the manifestation of this, where you have coaching classes, okay, spread across the country, that take people who have scored 95, 96, 97% and help them to score 99% so that they can get admission into those, narrow coveted institutions. So, and as you rightly, said that, taking talent at which already exists and becoming a filtering mechanism is not really adding value. Whilst we talk about, the fatal hygiene, I think that's a very critical factor that you mentioned, because if tomorrow, if I'm in a management institute and a multinational company comes to interview me, they will not accept the fact that, oh, I'm poor in accounts, or, I'm not good in maths. I mean, those are a no-no, irrespective of how good you are in communications or marketing or presentations.
Yeah.
So, having said this, what would you say is the correct way moving forward to be able to give our youth a chance in terms of identifying and building their strengths, especially because of the fact that it's in the most crucial in the first 10 years of their life? That's my question, sir.
So the first thing is that a spreading of the awareness. And the webinar arranged by you, organized by you, helps in this. It is one of the steps that we can do it. And my key takeaways at the last slide, I made it clear that, we have a role for ourselves. We understand, but it's maybe too late for us. But all of us are parents and grandparents. Can we guide our children in our family with this kind of that? All of us are enlightened people working at some institute, some leadership institute, some HR function or somewhere, Can we have a rethink about it? And we need to have a rethink, and with some determination, because in spite of the rethinking, the system, the society will not easily accept it. If you are in a company and you propound the idea that instead of sending people on training in their weak areas, you will send them on their strong areas, that may not be approved by the CEO. So the HR manager has to sell this idea to the CEO that what we are doing currently is wrong. So at different levels, so at the micro level, we ourselves, as well as as parents, teachers, schools, we need to imbibe this idea and spread this idea. At the same time, at the macro level, the entire educational system has to be reoriented, where, instead of the mass production of talent in one area, we have to look at the personalized talent of the students and then build them up for that. So it has application at different levels, micro level and macro level. It's a difficult exercise, let me tell you. It's a difficult exercise because even though we know it for sure, even though that we know that our strengths are key to our success, psychologically we fall back in covering up our weaknesses. So that's a problem, but still we have to keep on struggling. And particularly educationists like you and here in the audience will have a very important role in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I agree with you that it's a long road ahead, but I'm sure we need to make a start somewhere.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you have done it today. Okay. I will share. Yeah.
Pawanji, I have received a question from Mr. Pramod Shah, the past chairman of the Company Secretary Institute. He's asking, what is your message to the corporate world?
The message is simple to the corporate world. Spread this awareness and act on it. Realize this, that this is, and the corporate world is the most critical factor in this because they are producing the future leaders. What is happening at the moment that through this method, the existing method of creating perfect leaders, we are trying to create a band of leaders in the new generation, which are again modeled on the wrong path. And those leaders, when they grow up, they will again follow the same road that they had taken. So generations after generations will keep on taking the wrong road and creating wrong leaders. So rather than that, if one corporate, two corporate, or all of them start thinking like in this new direction, they will be creating a set of leaders who are imperfect leaders, who realize the benefit of their imperfectness, and then again try to create a team of leaders who are as imperfect as they themselves are.
Pawanji, we have 4 minutes to go to reach the 6 o'clock deadline. I would request the audience if they have any questions. Otherwise, I will gobble up that 4 minutes. Okay. My question, Pawanji, is I've been reflecting on various things in the course of your presentation, sitting by your side. Yes. Pawanji, this is a thought as well as a question for your thoughts. The two aspects presented are work on your strengths, try to overcome your weaknesses. That's the path to leadership. What I'm wondering from my experience as a coach and coach myself, as an executive coach, is that isn't willingness to be a leader an important aspect of becoming a leader? I can set the context for my question. how many are actually willing to take a leadership position? And when I say leadership, not necessarily the CEO of a company, in their own jobs, at their own desk. You mentioned coaching and mentoring as one of the ways to the way to become leaders. How many are actually willing to get coached? So that's my question. Of course, I have added my own comments, I know that. But what is your experience? How do you think we resolve this?
Pawan sir, you are muted.
Yeah. So, sorry for being mute. So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people who are leaders, who are leading, but they are not aware that they are leading. Leadership, unfortunately, the way leadership has been presented to us through the textbooks and leadership schools is that only that gives the impression that only when you go to the top of a hierarchy, you start leading. So the people with leadership potential at the bottom or anywhere in the middle, they keep on waiting. You ask them, who is your leader? They will ask the man above. He is my leader. But they could actually be leading. In one of the companies that I worked for, we had a data entry operator. He designed a program which duplicated the common fields among all the entries, data entries, lines. Now it was leadership at work, even though he was a data entry operator. So we need to instill the feeling and the belief that for becoming a leader, you need not be at the top of the hierarchy. And even if you are at the top of the hierarchy, you can be just managing. You reflect on the fact that many of the prime ministers of India, they were there for shorter tenures. They were just managing. They didn't change any direction of the country. As against that, Mr. Narasimha Rao, he made a turnaround in the direction in which the country was going, and he became a leader in. So that is number one. We may be leading, but we are not aware of this. The second type is that sometimes there is a leadership potential in us, which gets reflected only when the situation comes. Right in the beginning of my book, I have discussed the story of Louis Urjua. He was working in a Chile gold mine, and he was just a supervisor. And one day in the afternoon, when he went to work inside the mine, 3,000 feet down below the earth surface, the whole thing collapsed. There was total darkness, as you are finding in the Uttarakhand tunnel right now. Right? We are struggling to get those laborers out of the tunnels. It happened, and for 69 days it continued there. Those 69 days, the simple supervisor that Louis Urjua was, he became a leader. He instilled hope into people. He disciplined them, the people, the limited ration that was there, the limited water was there. He apportioned them day after day, like that. So when the circumstances came, he became a leader. Yes, we are all human beings. We are human failures. We all think that we know everything. So why should we be coached? Yeah, right. That is a human failing. But then again, that's an attitudinal change that we have to bring in. As I said, even the best of professionals, whether they are CEOs or sportsmen or musicians, they are open to coaching. And we should be open to coaching, mentoring, and self-appraisal. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawanji. Thank you, Dr. Pawan Verma. And I think Kiranji, it's time. Hand it over back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murthy sir, for moderating this session so well and being able to keep everything in time and check. I think this was one of the most wonderful sessions that I've attended, because everything that Pawanji said made sense at the grassroots level. I think the fact that you have to accept imperfection and deal with it without admitting it doesn't make sense. I think that's a very crucial starting point. And I think the various other aspects that Dr. Verma brought out, especially the fact that if you want to be considered as a leader, then I think, sir, there are two things that I was at a session yesterday with one multinational company president, and they said that they do three things. One is, when they recruit people from top management institutes, they have nobody reporting to them. Absolutely nobody reporting to them. And in those circumstances, they are required to show leadership. So how do they demonstrate that? And that's how they are judged for their future career. Okay. So there, what they look for is how, not only how supportive you are of your boss, but how much do you challenge your boss? Because if there's no challenge coming up from there, and they say that the quality of being able to question and to be able to reason out and argue and disagree, okay, is supreme during that tenure. Part two, when the time comes to promoting, they don't necessarily go on how good you are at your job by yourself. But if you want to move on and move ahead, then one of the critical factors is that you must have that, by that point of time, created a successor, okay, who can take over your job. So you have to be selfless in making other people successful if you want to move up the ladder. And thirdly, sir, they said that when somebody reaches the peak of their career in their organization, then the leadership is not judged by their experience, knowledge, and expertise at all. It is judged by how they are able to mentor the company and be able to ask those humble questions that nobody else would ask from a global perspective. So I think, and in your talk, you've actually covered all these three aspects, and you've also covered the fact that how do we, evolve and develop ourselves to be able to handle this at various stages in our life. So I think that's why I said to you, sir, upfront, that this was a masterclass in leadership management. I would say mini module MBA that you delivered in 90 minutes. So thank you so much for being with us today. And I think we are all blessed to be able to have, your insights. And I'm sure that many of us will now definitely read through your book and try and practice it. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions or doubts, even in the future, then Dr. Verma will be more than happy to talk about what he has actually authored in there. So thank you, sir, for giving us so much of your valuable time, and Mr. Murthy giving us this opportunity to be able to have you back in the MBA office BMA office to moderate this session. And for the audience, thank you so much that you've been with us for the last 2 hours, patiently listening. And I could see many of senior people also taking notes and, putting their thoughts together. Wish you a very happy weekend and enjoy the match tomorrow, and let us see India win. Thank you.